Okay. Is it working?
Yeah, I can see it. All right. And okay, so first get all your stuff running, your Python and your Flask and all that. Or sorry, your Flask. Okay, your database is running. But now you just need to get your Flask.
It's not yet. I just scrolled up to get the code to run it
Oh, okay.
right here.
Okay. And so yeah, open that. Okay. All right. So we're good to go. So let's get back to Visual Studio. All right. So we left off yesterday at updating a specific account rather than updating everything in the database. So let's scroll down to test 4. Okay, so that here's the test 4. Here's how to do that. Now we are going to get even more complicated, or a different way of doing the same thing. So what we're going to do is so copy test 4 and make a test 5. And then go to make the test 5 at the bottom too. Okay, so let's go up to test 5. And let's change. So delete 195 through 205. And then change your post to change your post to a get on 196. Okay, so and then here, go ahead and change delete everything from on line 202 from basic. Get rid of the where and email. Yeah. Okay, and then get rid of the comma and the email, but leave the parentheses. Okay, all right, so what we're gonna have this do is when you first land on the page, we're gonna query everything in the database and then print it to the screen. So let's go ahead and delete lines 204 through 206. Okay, and then type email equals a dot email, first equals a dot first, so on and so forth. Get all the stuff from the database. And keep going, like all the stuff. So on the right side of your screen, your NDB models. So like all the stuff there. So last, middle, so on and so forth. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to print that to the screen. So let's highlight lines 210 through 213 and then hit tab. Okay, and then change done to delete done on 211 and then put the squiggly brackets and put first, and then go out of that and then put and then put a space and then another squiggly bracket and do last, middle. Don't put the password because you never would display that. And then phone and then email.
Why would it says first, last, and then middle? Isn't it usually first, middle, last? Why would it be backwards, those two? I'm just curious.
It wouldn't in reality, but I don't care.
That's just the order I had it.
Yeah.
Okay,
okay. So now, okay, so now click to on line 113 after the triple quotes, but before the parentheses. Okay, and put dot format. And then parentheses and put first equals, and then put str for string, and then put parentheses, and then put first. And so what we're doing here is, so everybody remember how we insert stuff into strings in Python is we do the squiggly brackets and then the name of the variable and then dot format and then you know, the name equals, and then the second one is referencing the variable on line 205 there. But the reason we're putting it into strings is because some of these in the database aren't going to have entries, so it's going to be a none type object, and so if we put it as a string, it'll display none to the screen. But if we just try inserting it, it's not going to let us insert a none type object. So okay, so then click out of that parentheses, but still in the other two. Yeah, good. And then put a comma and do the same thing for all the other ones, the last, middle, so on and so forth.
Am I also doing password?
Phone and email.
Okay.
So just the ones that are on line 211. And just so you guys know, these don't technically, in the dot format part doesn't need to technically be in the right order. You can put it in whatever you want, because that's why we've got it, the name, it's referencing the name so that it knows what to put where. Oh, you accidentally put middle in the string for email. Okay, so this, all it's going to do is print everything from the database to the screen, right? But what we want to do is, once we've printed everything, we want to be able to choose our specific item or entry that we want, and so that we can change it. So the way we're going to do that is, so now click to the end of line 211. Or actually just hit enter so we go to a new line, and then put a form tag, opening and closing form tag. And then in the opening form tag, let's put method equals post. Yeah, there you go, good. And then action equals /test5. So again, whenever we're doing an HTML form, you need to specify the method, which part of the page you're going to, the get section or the post section. And then the action is always what page you're sending it to, which is, you know, the /test5 page. So now click to the end of line. So just go to get a new line, get the next one. So click to the end of, yeah, perfect. Okay, and so now let's do input, or do an input tag. Yeah, good. And then the type equals hidden, because if you want to send data in a form but you don't want anything to appear to the user's screen, you use the input type hidden. And so now let's name this input type. So name equals, and let's call it the key. And then, yeah, perfect. And then value equals, and then in the question, in the quotation marks, put the squiggly brackets and type the key. And then, yeah, and then close off the tag. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert data into there. So we've got to add on line 216, add in there the key equals the key. And you don't need to string that because it's gonna, we're gonna have a result for the key. So click to the end of line 209 and hit enter. Okay, so now we need to get the key for this specific entry. So the way we do that is we do the key, just for the variable name, equals a dot key dot URL. Wait, actually it's get and then URL safe. Hold on, let me think. No, you don't need to do dot get. Okay, dot URL safe, and then put what's that called? Parentheses, and then click to the end of that and put dot decode, and then parentheses, and inside quotes type UTF-8. And what we're doing here is we can't just get the key, right? Because if you send the regular key over a post method, it has issues because it's its own thing. It's its own data type, and it's not an option for sending it as a string. But Google has a nice way of circumventing that by they create a key that is just a string. So it's different than the normal key. So like the normal keys is when you do like NDB dot key, and then the basic for the class type, and then comma, and then after that you'd put a whatever the key is. So like if you made the key the email, it'd be the email, right? But that's a data type by doing it that way. But like I said, Google makes it by doing URL safe, it gives a different key that it recognizes. But the problem with it is that it makes it as a bytes-like object. And so when it becomes a bytes-like object, we need to do decode UTF-8 so that so what a byte type object is just basically a string that says B at the beginning, and then it's in quotes, But anyway, it gets rid of the B and stuff. So long story short, a whole bunch of explaining to say, to get a key to send over the internet, just do this. The key equals, A or whatever you have. And so on line 103, we're doing 4A in basic search. But if we, so whatever you have there, because like if you then do another, for loop, you might not name it A, you might name it B or whatever to differentiate. But anyway, so a.key.urlsafe.decode UTF-8 will get you something that you can then send over the internet or through a post form. Okay, but now we need to be able to do something with it once we have the key. So let's say, so click to the end of line 214. And actually, we don't need to do something with it here. We could do something on another page. Okay, just type input type submit. But actually, let's change the value. So instead of saying submit, the button says something different to value equals, and then just say update user. Perfect. Okay, so that's what we need to do in order to. So actually, let's look at what this looks like. Go to test 5 on the internet. Okay, so you can see it displays everything, and then if you want to update that specific user, you have a specific button. And since it's hidden, let's do right click and do inspect. And then go ahead and click on the little where it says body, the little down arrow, so and right click that and choose expand all from the very bottom, the second from the bottom. There you go. Okay, so as you can see, each of these keys is different. It's not very much different, but it like CDA, that one's GDA, next one's HDA. So each one is its own key. It's kind of similar to the other, but Google, their data store will be able to recognize the difference and be able to access that. So now we're going to see how to do that. So let's go back to Visual Studio. And so now let's make the post section. So go ahead and copy lines 196 through, oh, we never put an HTML1. Oh, it still worked, but let's put the HTML1 anyway. Oh, no,
so
you got it there. I just didn't see it. Oh, what's that?
Yeah, so this is is it this Python? Is that what we are working on here?
Yeah, it's Python and SQL, well, and GQL, Google's database, and Google NDB. It's like a whole bunch of stuff. So I know we just started with Python and we're not done, but we've got to the basics of Python, right? And so like you guys understand variables and stuff like that. But I want to get you guys familiar with this stuff, because this is your bread and butter right here. The stuff I'm teaching you like right now and yesterday is going to be 90% of what you do as a web-based programmer.
And so that is the database part. The backend part is what you showed us right now with the Python and SQL is what you're doing now. Yeah,
all the backend stuff. So and a little bit of front end too. But like, I want you guys to get familiar with this so that while we're going through Python, while you're working on your website, like the stuff you need to do on your website, you're going to need to know this stuff. So I'm kind of covering it before we finish Python, so that while you guys are working on your web page, you can create like a login page, right? You can create the backend so that, you know, somebody clicks login and they type their username and password, and then they'll be able to, you know, see their profile and they can update their profile, and you as an admin can log in and see everybody's profile and update everybody's profile, and stuff like that. But like, literally, these things that we're learning right here is what's the majority of what you'll be doing, just because it's all about data. It's all about either retrieving something from the database, or like figuring out a specific way to query something from the database and retrieve it, or get something from database, manipulate it, and then put it back in the database. Stuff like that is like, that's, you know, most of web-based programming. So yeah, that's why we're covering a little early. Did that answer your question, Peter?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So now let's go ahead and highlight from 196 to 201. Okay, and then click to the end of 219 and hit enter, and then backspace and paste. Yep, perfect. Okay, and then change the get to a post. Okay, and so change the email to the key. Yeah, you're right there. And then the other one to the dot get. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so, and then we can delete 224. We don't need that. All right, so now that we have that key, we can go ahead. Oh, and actually, let's add HTML2 also, just so that we have that. Yeah, just sandwiched right after HTML1. Okay, and then so now let's type in between. So you click, get a new line between those two. Yeah. All right. So now that we have our key, we can go ahead and retrieve stuff. So the way we retrieve it based on the key is we do. So let's name this. I don't know, user equals NDB dot key with a capital K. So it's different than the other key when we're doing the query, right? And then do a parentheses and type URL safe equals the key. And then at the end of that line, put a period and put dot get. Because what we're doing is, so we have the key with the URL safe, but then we want to get the information from the database so that we can update it and manipulate it or whatever. So then put two parentheses at the end. Yeah. Okay. And now let's go to the next line and do first equals user dot first last, so on and so forth. And you see the difference here is we're putting the variable name first and then the equals. Right now, if we did user dot first, for example, equals, and then we typed something, if we then did also dot put at the end, it would go ahead and update the database, but instead we're just taking the stuff from the database and putting it into a variable. Okay, and so now we've got all that stuff in a but we might have instances where it's a none type. We can just do that when we insert it later. Okay, so now go ahead and add a self response dot write to the next line, and then put triple quotes inside the parentheses. Okay, and then so now what we'll do is we'll display the information for that user to the screen. So we might as well just copy lines 212 and paste that in there. And then, but what we're going to do is we're going to have it separate, right? So let's go ahead and put each of those on a different line, like the first, last, middle on different lines. Okay, so now so click to the end of line 232 and get a new line. And so put your form tag up at the top, and you can copy it from 213 if you want, or type it, whatever. Okay, but we're not going to post it to, actually, okay, I'll show you a way you can do that, actually. Okay, we'll post it to this page. So leave it as post to test 5. I was going to make a new one and do post to test step 6, but I'll show y'all a little trick you can do. Okay, and then put your submit input in your closing form at the bottom right where your cursor is. Yeah, perfect, just like that. Okay, but now we want to be able to update each of these, like the first, last, middle, or email, right? So in front of first, put an input tag, and sorry, not in front of, after first, I meant to say. And then for the input tag, do type equals text, and name equals, and then have it just blank for now. Is that way you can copy it and paste it to all the other ones. So yeah, just go ahead and paste that to each of the other ones. Okay, and then can you guess what we're going to do next, Kevin? Well, okay, yep, perfect. You guessed right. Okay, and then let's copy line 218 and paste that on line 242, replacing the stuff that's currently on 242. Oh, and just hit tab 3 times. There you go. But get rid of, or actually, no, we are going to need to send the key. So let's actually copy line 214 and paste that in there as well. Okay. So now we've got input tags where we can type text for each of the different pages, right? But we're having it send to this page. So what we need to do is we need to add another hidden value. So go to the next line and just paste it again. But change the key. We'll just get rid of that entirely because right there, yeah, perfect. And then change the key to I don't know, send update. And then for value, make that true. And then so what we'll need to do is we're gonna need to excuse me. So up where so copy line 223 and then paste that right after on the next line. And get and put send update in both of those. Okay, so what we're gonna do is click to the end of line 232 and hit enter. And now type if string and then put the parentheses and inside it put send update. And then click outside the parentheses and do equals equals and then in quotes true. And then click to the end and put a colon and then hit enter. And so now what we're going to do, so what we're doing here is basically we're looping back through the same thing, right? So it comes here. We'll actually put so hit delete and go down a couple. Oh no, sorry, not delete. Backspace, yeah. So actually just right where you're at, type else and then put a colon and hit enter. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so so in the first one we don't send update, right? So scroll up so we can look at the first one. Okay, in our get section we're not sending the hidden variable send update, right? So send update is not going to exist, so it's going to be a none type object. So the string that's going to just come out as none and not true, right? So so scroll back down. So what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, send updates true. Okay, well, it's not, so do the else. So then it's going to display everything to the screen and do what we want it to do the first time, right? But then when we send it again, since we sent it to send update, now it's going to have, it is going to be true. So now basically the second time we send it, it's going to do this the second thing. So click on line 234 and hit tab and type if and then space first and colon. And so what we're doing here is we're saying if first exists, and if first is not a, oh shoot, but we put that there. Oh, I know. So this is what we're gonna do. Click to the end of 233 and hit enter. And now type the first equals self dot request, because it's a post request, dot get, and then parentheses and in quotes put first. And this is where the duh comes in that I was talking about, because if you see we've got first used as a variable name, but we want to use first again, so I put something different in front of it, so it's a different variable name. And then yeah, change 235 to duh first. So we're saying if they sent first, right? Because we didn't make all those fields required, so the user might not want to update the first name. They might only want to update the phone number or the email, right? But if they do type something in there and send it, then we'll update it. So that's why we're saying if the first colon, then do this. So hit, yeah, there you go, perfect. And now do, oh shoot, you know what we need to put before this though? Okay, click to the end of 234 and hit enter. And type, let's see, we already used user, so, oh, actually, no, we don't have to do any of that because we've already did the user on 226. Okay, my bad. Okay, go back to 237. Okay, and type user dot first equals the first. So what we're saying is, because we're doing the self request dot get to get the stuff from the user typed, we put it in the variable the first, and we're saying since we already retrieved the user on 226 there using the URL safe key, we already have it and we can update it, right? So now go to the next line and hit delete, and then actually just might as well copy 234 through 237, because you're going to do the same thing, just change the names. And then yeah, paste that and do the same thing for each one, like make it, you know, last, middle, phone. And actually we could do password too, because sometimes you need to update users' passwords or whatever if they forget them or whatever. But yeah, I'll let you do all that. And so passwords are encrypted in transit and at rest, but it's a good practice to double encrypt it. So before it even reaches the database, if you encrypt it and then unencrypt it when it comes out of the database, is a good practice, and I'll show you all how to do that later. But for now, we'll just do it this way, where we just save it directly. But just keep that in mind, that normally you would encrypt passwords, just because if your database gets hacked, like sensitive information like social security numbers, credit cards, stuff like that, if your database gets hacked, like let's say somebody hacks Google and gets access to everything, well, if they have all your data, you're screwed. But if you've encrypted it before it goes there, then all they're going to see is it's going to look like gobbledygook to them. And without the key to unencrypt it, they're screwed. Okay, I think that's good. So now we just need to add, okay. Okay, so we added password, but we didn't put it yet in the form. So let's scroll down a little, and yeah, go to the, yeah. Well, you don't just highlight to the input part, because we're not gonna display the password, because you don't even want admins to know people's password. So type password not shown. And now paste the thing, and then change email to password. And actually, this would be a good time to show you all the different types. So yeah, change the text type to password too, because then it puts the little dots when you're typing. Yeah, we could change that to tell, and then the next one to email. Yeah. You could just do it as text, but like with the email, it'll make sure, if you do it as input type email, it'll make sure that they have the little @ in there and stuff. And if you do it as tell, then if they're on a smartphone, the numbers will pop up for when they're on that section to type it. But anyway, okay, so we're good here. So, okay, so now we've updated it, but we need to save it into the database. So click to the end of line 257 and hit enter, and then backspace, and type user.put, and then parentheses. Dot put. And let's tab that over so it's even with the if. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's save that, and let's go to your test 5 and see how this looks. Oh wait, we didn't display that it's done though. Okay, sorry, go back to your database and add, so copy self-response.write, and then right under user, paste that, and just type information updated. Okay, let's save that, and then let's go to your test 5 and hit refresh. Okay, and then just choose one of the users and type a new name and whatever that is. Just, yeah, type something new, and then if you want it in one of the other ones too, you don't have to do all of them though. Hit update. And so now let's go look at your database. So go to /ndb viewer. And submit. And so you could see, yeah, the stuff that you typed, it updated, but the stuff that you didn't type, didn't update. So actually a good, so let's go back to that just to make it more straightforward, or back to your Visual Studio. And then, so now let's, in front of first, put first and a colon. Yeah, right there. Perfect. You get it. And same thing for the other. So if it says none or whatever, or you know what is there. So you're displaying the old information and telling yourself what the old information is. All right, so perfect. Now let's do that again and choose a different one so we can see what it looks like with it more straightforward. Just choose a different one, or that one, whatever. Just change something. Okay. Just hit update or whatever. And go to NDB viewer, refresh. And there you go. So that's how you do it by querying, right? But we queried we queried everything in the database, right? So you can do the same thing, but let's go to your Visual Studio. So let's scroll up to, keep going up. Keep going up right here, right where we have our where statement. So on line 183, as you saw, you know, where email equals email. Well, that's pretty specific. It's probably going to get you just one response, right? But you could also do name equals Brandon, right? Or first equals Brandon, right? And then you get you're querying all the Brandons, right? And just choosing something from that. And so that's just, or maybe if you were building something for a school, you'd choose where grade equals 1 or something, right? To get more specific and then choose from there. And we'll learn about SQL, and you'll learn all the cool different ways to do it, but 99% of the time when you're doing SQL, you're probably just going to have a couple where statements just like this. So like if we want to do so like we could also after where it says email equals email, if we put and then, so like if we said where grade, you do this, you don't need to change it, I'm just talking, but at that part, yeah, if you did, so instead of email equals email, if you did where grade equals 1 and GPA greater than 3.0 or something, right? You could do things like that to get more specific queries, so that you know, it's not querying the whole database, and then you can choose from the ones you want to either update or whatever. But that is if you can learn. So we probably just threw a bunch at you. It's probably going to be hard to remember everything we just covered today and yesterday, but with practice, if you practice all these things, you're going to be able to do a lot as a web-based programmer. So Kevin, would you mind copying yeah, that actually, would you mind just copying the whole file? Might as well just copy the whole file into yeah, and paste that in the chat. You might need to drag and drop it to the chat.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So once you kind of proficient with all this scribbly script, how long does it usually take to get like a web page functional?
Well,
what's the average?
it depends how good you are. Like the stuff we just did is you could create a functional web page. Like basically the stuff we just covered, you could make everything you need for your resume web page to be functional and like have people be able to log in, update their user profile and update their you know, see whatever their information is, see if you had it something where, I don't know, let's say you had messages that are saved or something, and if they message you, then their old messages would appear and your responses would appear or whatever, right? You could put that in a different class of the database. But like as y'all saw, it only took like an hour or like 2 hours. Well, okay, I guess yesterday was kind of like 2 whole hours, but a lot of that was helping people. So probably like 2 hours or something, you could actually build everything for your resume web page. Like doesn't take that long if you understand what you're doing and you learn all this stuff. And then it's just a matter of adding other features, right? So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. But that's if you're proficient and understand it. So just practice this stuff, get good at it, and it's not going to take you very long to build stuff at all. But
what
uh-huh.
what was just Kevin? What did you just paste? Why did you paste a program? Ain't you supposed to paste a text?
No. I asked him to paste the whole file in there. Because if he tried to paste the text for all of it, it would paste like, it would take 10 times. He'd have to paste like 10 times because Zoom only lets you paste a little bit. But then anybody who's missing your like test 3 or test 4 or whatever, y'all can copy that from his main.py and paste that to replace yours. Because I know there's a few people that needed to do that.
Yeah, but the issue is when it opens up, we're supposed to save it to
no, you don't
what
need to,
file?
you don't need to save that file. You just open it up and copy the data you need into your main.py.
Yeah, I can't open it. That's why. I don't know why.
Oh, there you go. He sent it as text, so you should be able to open that.
Yeah, I did just the test 5 that we did so far into a notepad document.
Oh, okay. Would you mind sending the whole thing as a text file? Because I guess he's having.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks for all your help today.
Yep.
So yeah, so we'll wrap that up. Well, any questions before I stop the recording and then we move on to y'all working on your web pages and then I help anybody who needs help? No questions? Okay, and we will stop the recording.